husband somehow found out about my affair on my solo trip and blocked all my cards. I am screwed. I wish I didn't do it. I wish I could turn back the hands of time, and I would have not gone on a solo trip. My husband had organized it for me, so I would go and relax since I was working hard. But instead of appreciating that, what did I do? I committed adultery that led me to be the most broken and broken person on earth. As much as I still want to fix everything and undo everything, it's a pity that time waits for no man, and what's done is done. Even though it was the only important chapter in my life. I had lost a dime while chasing for stones. I know what I did is unforgivable, and it was very selfish of me, but I got tempted. And during that temptation, I found myself falling for it. Not aware that it would somehow come back and bite me when I was least expecting. I went on a solo trip, hoping for some much-needed time alone, but little did I know that it would turn into a nightmare. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where everything seems to be falling apart? Well, let me tell you about my recent experience. My name is Emily Robinson, female 26, and my husband is Arthur Brown, male 29. My husband and I met at Cardiff. I went to visit my Nana, my mother's mom. Arthur lived there with his parents. Well, his parents and my Nana were somehow friends, or must I say they were family friends. One day, my Nana had invited them to have dinner with us. That time, Arthur had recently come back from the university. The dinner went well. My Nana had introduced me to Arthur, and we got along pretty well. Since I was visiting in Cardiff and Arthur was also visiting, we decided to exchange numbers so we would be in contact so that we would be able to get to know each other. Arthur is a humble, respectful, and enthusiastic man. He was so gentle. Even the way he was speaking, his voice was soft, but carried a lot of authority. We became friends since then. We would check up on each other every time when we got a chance. He was my pillar and strength. He was the best friend I had ever had. He showed the most genuine love and care. He had that gentle, tender love, and he knew how to treat a woman. He valued communication, loyalty, and respect a lot. Our friendship was just everything and more. He was what most girls want and pray for. We were friends up until he finished studying in university and graduated. I was so proud of him when he was called to the podium to collect his qualification in science. Being a business scientist was always his dream. I was glad that he was actually a few steps away from achieving his goals. That time, he had been offered an internship in a data science company. It wasn't a lot, but it was a start, and I was so happy for him. On his graduation celebration dinner, his mother had hosted a dinner to celebrate his graduation and the new internship opportunity. His parents were so proud they wouldn't have to say anything to see that they were truly proud of their son. So that night, Arthur asked to take me out the following day before he went to work. I agreed to go out with him. I was already feeling the guy, but I was too afraid to confess my feelings for him because I was scared of getting rejected. The following day, he confessed his feelings for me. I was not expecting it, nor was I ready for it. I had thought that maybe he only took me as a friend, not someone he would actually share his love with. On another hand, I was happy at the fact that he had confessed his feelings for me. I also got a chance to confess mine, knowing that I was safe from being rejected. He wouldn't reject me when he had also confessed his undying love for me, right? I also told him how I felt about it. Since then, we officialized our relationship. We actually promoted our relationship from being friends to being lovers. I was ecstatic. We dated for a year and a half, then he proposed. His parents, along with my Nana, were so happy at the fact that we had actually met their hopes. I was surprised when my Nana told me that she had been praying that I date Arthur because he was a good, humble, and respectful young man with a good sense of humor. I just couldn't believe my Nana, but I was glad and felt blessed at the fact that she had wished and prayed for nothing but the best for me. I remember when Arthur's mom was so over the moon and busy gushing about the wedding. She actually wanted us to make her the wedding planner. It was somehow really funny to see her wanting to be hands-on like that, but Arthur didn't want her to be. So we had hired a wedding planner to take care of everything that we would need. I was focusing on having the best dress and best suit for Arthur. That's how happy I was with my wedding, and I couldn't wait for it to happen. 2 months later, we got married, and it was the happiest day of our lives. I was glad that Arthur didn't change when we got married or when we started dating. I mean, most people tend to change when they get what they want. But Arthur kept treating me like his friend and a lover. His love for me, or our love for each other, was not hidden. It was just visible to everyone to see that we were so much in love. We actually became like siblings because of the way we were free and sometimes crazy towards each other. Sure, we had our fair share of ups and downs, arguments just like any other couples, but we maintained the communication. We made sure to not go to bed while angry at one another. Another thing, we would just kiss and make up when we had been having an altercation or argument. Our intimate moments were always on a high level. I don't know if I was saying that because I loved and I still love Arthur, which is funny because I love a person who screwed me over in a most painful and unforgivable way. I think I loved our intimate moments because he was the one who broke my virginity. He was my first true lover and my first true friend. All along, I had been having or finding fake friends and playing boys who only wanted me to sleep with them so that they could discard me like an old used cloth or tea bag. I had my doubts about Arthur when we first started dating, but the time that we had spent in getting to know each other while we were friends really helped because I got into a relationship with him, knowing what I was outing myself into. It was nothing but bliss. Time passed, I started getting bored. I mean, I am a writer, so I was always in the house because I was not working for any company but myself. Arthur was always at work and he would come back later when he had knocked off. He didn't change, you know. He was the same husband that I had fallen in love with, and my love for him kept growing each and every time when I looked at him. I loved the fact that he was very much supportive and always there for me when I needed him. I don't know what really came over me when I destroyed the only good thing I had going. So when time passed, I recently went on a solo trip, just some time to myself to relax and unwind. My husband had actually organized that trip for me to relax. He told me that I was working too much and had put too much energy and dedication to the book that I was writing, so I needed some time off. I was happy at the fact that he had actually thought of my well-being, because I tried telling him that I wanted to first finish the book, then I would go on a trip, but he refused. Then he told me that the book won't have anyone to finish it when I get sick and get admitted to the hospital. Sometimes I hate how he was always right about things. I was working a lot to a point that I didn't even get time for myself. But I can't complain because writing is what I love and what I am good at. It's the only thing that makes me think about only good things. It was actually like my meditation process. So I took his offer and went on a solo trip to South Africa. I fell in love with that country the first time I had visited with my Nana and my parents when they were still alive. I promised myself that once I start affording, I would go back to visit it again. The weather is so good and warm, it is a very relaxing country, despite the news that we would hear about it. South Africa is a very precious and welcoming country. I love everything about it, and I decided that during my solo trip, I would travel and explore South Africa. During my trip, I went to a province called Zulu-Natal or something like that. I'm the person who loves African cultures, and I must say that the Zulu culture really took my heart, from the activities that they do, food they eat, and their cultural sites, the way they dance. It's just so amazing. I really enjoyed my trip to South Africa, and I'm going to go back to visit again. I want to explore more about South African cultures, and maybe I will find myself learning a few African languages. While I was still enjoying the warm weather in Durban in South Africa, even going to the beach was enjoyable. So I went to this corner that sells Zulu traditional food around where I was renting. I bumped into a very handsome, well-built, and humble guy when I had just placed my order. The guy asked if he could join my table since the restaurant was full and I was sitting alone. I gave the guy a go-ahead, and he joined me. We waited for our food over some light conversation. During my trip, I made a terrible mistake. I had an affair. I thought I could keep it a secret, but I guess nothing stays under the carpet for too long. I had picked up that he was also not from South Africa, but he was from Europe. We talked a lot and even shared our South African numbers since we had found out that we were renting in the same place in La Lucia. The guy introduced himself as William Smith, male, 32. He was good company and funny. He told me that he loved visiting African countries. We shared a lot, and I would say that I enjoyed my stay in South Africa. I had actually found something interesting to write about in my book. William talked up until our orders were called since we were not eating in. I wanted to enjoy my African traditional meal indoors, which was why I had ordered it as a takeaway. William asked to give me a lift from the traditional food corner to my apartment that I was renting. I couldn't decline his offer, There was just something attractive with him, and I still don't know what actually drove me to William. Maybe it was his charms or something. I don't know. I was so taken by him. For some time, I had forgotten about my husband that I had left back at home. William became my foreign friend that I had never had. We traveled together around the province. I really enjoyed his company. So one day, William asked that we visit the newly opened bar near where we were staying. I couldn't say no, so we went, we drank, danced, and had so much fun. When it was time to go back to my apartment, I don't know what happened, but William and I kissed and it felt so right. To my surprise, I didn't even feel guilty when I woke up in William's apartment. I knew that I was doing something that jeopardized my relationship with Arthur, but I felt like I needed to explore other intimate moments so that I would know how it felt like to be intimate with another person. I mean, in intimate moments, I had only shared them with Arthur only. I didn't know how it felt like to explore other intimate styles and positions, and William made me experience all that. I knew that if my husband was to find out, I would lose a lot and hell would break loose. I was doing what was against my marriage law and my vows that I had made in front of the Lord, my family, and friends. I was jeopardizing my marriage and my relationship with Arthur. I love my husband, or must I say my ex-husband, so much. But I also needed to feel myself for once. I wanted to explore other things and explore a new venture of intimacy. William's drive was really on another level. I felt like it was my first time having such a great intimate moment. Sure, my husband was explorative and did me so great, but William's exploration was top-notch. I enjoyed every moment with him, from how he was exploring my body, the way he was touching me, kissing me with his soft and tender lips. I knew there and then that I had caught some feelings for the guy. Our secret affair went on since I had extended my stay in South Africa so that I would have enough time with William. I think I had fallen for the guy, or am I wrong? I felt like the guy knew me and what my body needed without even asking for it. His intimate drive drove me sane into a point that it somehow felt like I had been brainwashed because I couldn't even think about the marriage that I was putting at risk. I was jeopardizing my marriage, knowing very well that if Arthur was to find out, I would be husbandless and maybe divorced. Little did I know that my husband had actually planned something drastic for me. I was busy enjoying my moments with William. Little did I know my husband somehow found out about my affair and things took a turn for the worst. I was enjoying my time away, exploring new places, plus it was my last day in South Africa. I knew that I had to go back home when suddenly I got a notification on my phone. It's a text from my husband, and let's just say, it wasn't a happy one. He had somehow discovered my secret and was absolutely furious. I knew Arthur when he was angry, and I knew when he was enraged. And in the text that he had sent me, he was really enraged. He wrote that he had sent me to the trip because he wanted me to relax and have some good time and take a break from writing. But that was the thanks he gets by going outside our marriage and committing adultery. He then said a lot of hurtful words that made me feel so much guilt in my heart. My mind had come back to functioning well. Mind you that teen William had gone back to Europe. Not to sound selfish or whatever, but I missed William so much. Well, more like I missed his S****. I know it was really wrong of me, but I just couldn't help it. That William was giving me more than what I was getting from my own husband. He knew how to explore certain parts of the body. His touches were magical, and I would always melt on his touch. It was like he had gone to school for his experience and skills in intimacy. You know when someone had passed with straight A's at school for some subject that they loved? That was William. It was like he had some sort of an intimacy qualification. Was I falling hard for the guy? But I don't think so. I missed William to a point that I actually found myself trying to call him, but it went straight to voicemail. I had even forgotten that I only had his South African number and not his actual number. I was frustrated because I needed him, at least to talk to him just to hear his voice. I decided to check him on social media, but I didn't find anything since he didn't even share his forename. I didn't know what to do because I really needed the guy. I ended up helping myself while saying William's name. I thought I could keep it a secret, but somehow my husband found out. And let me tell you, he was not happy. But wait, it gets worse. As if finding out about my affair wasn't bad enough, my husband decided to take things to the next level. He blocked all my cards, leaving me completely stranded without any access to money. Talk about being screwed. I couldn't believe it. Here I am in a foreign place with no way to pay for anything. It was like a nightmare come true. I had no idea how I was going to survive the rest of my trip. As if the emotional turmoil wasn't enough, my husband decided to take things a step further. He blocked all my cards. Yes, you heard that right. He cut off my access to any financial resources. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why would my husband do something like that? Well, let's just say he wanted to make sure I felt the consequences of my actions. And boy, did he succeed. I couldn't believe him. I had thought he would at least wait for me to get home before doing such a drastic act. So there I was, stuck in a foreign country, with no money and no way to get home. It's safe to say that this was definitely not how I envisioned my solo trip turning out. Yes, I had wronged Arthur in a most possible way, but wouldn't he at least try and wait for me to get home before doing that? Till today, I am still trying to figure out how Arthur found out about my affair with William. Even though today I regret everything. I even regret going to South Africa and regretting that I didn't accept my husband's offer to have a trip, because now it had destroyed everything that me and Arthur had been through. You know, I tried booking the plane ticket using my cards, but they were all declining. It was so embarrassing and humiliating to hear a person telling you that your card was declining. Mind you, that time I didn't even have any friends nor siblings, but I missed him so much. Now I am completely screwed. I have no money to pay for my accommodation, food, or even transportation back home. I feel trapped and helpless. William and I couldn't get a chance to get to know each other on a deeper level. It was like the only thing that had connected us was intimacy, and it was really dumb and stupid of me to not try and find out more about the guy. I just couldn't believe Arthur. I mean, how he could do something like that to the person he claimed to love. I was so heartbroken to a point that I took the last money that I had and went to find a cheaper place to crash until I had found the way to get back home. It was a wake-up call for me. I never thought that my actions would have such severe consequences. I took my husband's trust for granted, and now I am paying the price. I tried calling him, but his phone was ringing unanswered. I needed answers on why he did what he did to me and how he found out about what I was doing in South Africa. I was so angry at him to a point that I even felt like I would slap him across his face if he was closer. I know what I did, and I am not justifying what I did, but what my husband or ex-husband did was too extreme and kind of low even for himself. He should have waited for me to come back right. As if that wasn't enough, the money that I had was about to run out. I called my Nana to help me, but I had run out of airtime. Mind you, I wanted to call the landline number at my Nana's house since she would sometimes not hear the phone ringing. My hopes were gone. I was about to be stranded and homeless in a foreign country because my husband had decided to just block all my bank accounts, including the one that I had been saving on. 2 days later, I received a call from Arthur telling me that he needed me home to finish the book that I was writing. He told me that he had booked me for the flight that would take me from Durban to Cape Town. My mind wanted to explode when I thought about the fact that I was screwed by my own husband. I thought he loved me, but all along he was pretending to love me. I used the last money that I had to book a flight to Cape Town, where I would actually take another plane to Los Angeles, California. I had enjoyed my trip to another country, but the very same trip had made me lose the only person who had shown me nothing but true love, respect, and loyalty. We had agreed and pledged to follow those rules even if we were apart from each other. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. Let this be a lesson to all of you out there. Honesty is always the best policy. Trust me, you don't want to find yourself in a situation like mine. I am sharing my story with you today to remind you that every action has consequences. It's important to think before we act, especially when it comes to our relationships. Loyalty and respect for your marriage or relation is the root of a successful partnership. Arthur didn't file for any divorce, and we had decided to attend some therapy sessions and to learn more about trust, honesty, loyalty, communication, and respect in relationships. Even though the damage was great, we decided to be civil with each other and we would stay in different places. I still have hope that my husband and I would maybe someday fix things and go back to where we were. Our separation was really taking a toll on me and it was really depressing. Please give me ways to get my husband back. I need him and I miss him.